Good evening. Welcome to the Human Rights Commission meeting for Thursday, June the 12th. We'll start with our flag salute. Commissioner Bowens, please.
Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Commissioner Janis, would you please read our mission statement?
The mission of the Human Rights Commission of Palm Springs is to promote improved human relations, civic peace, intergroup understanding, and the full acceptance, respect, and participation of all persons in all aspects of community life so that we will be equal in the eyes of each other.
Thank you. And just in time for roll call, Lee, would you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Janis.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd, absent. Commissioner Yo.
Here.
Commissioner Bowens.
Present.
Commissioner Feingold.
Here.
Commissioner Zelnis.
Here.
Commissioner Catarat.
Here.
Commissioner Aguano, absent. And Commissioner McCullough, absent. Joe and Mike both called and could not make it, so they're excused.
Absences. Thank you. And Lee, could I ask, has the agenda been posted?
Yes, the agenda was posted according with the Brown Act on Friday.
Okay, thank you. Now we have public comments, but seeing that we don't have public this evening, there are no comments. We do have a very special guest speaker with us tonight, Mr. Joe Ortiz, and I'm going to elect Commissioner Zelnis. Would you please introduce our guest?
I'd be happy to, thanks. Welcome, Joe, to the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission meeting. You bet. I invited Joe to speak to the commission tonight on behalf of, if you will, the Homeless Task Force, which I, as the vice chair of the Human Rights Commission, participate. Joe also participates on the Homeless Task Force. At the last meeting of the Homeless Task Force, we were talking about the summertime in Palm Springs and the obvious problems and increased difficulties that homeless people in Palm Springs face in the hot summer months that make it even a more difficult life than it would be other times of the year. Joe works with and runs the Nightingale Manor, which is the only family shelter here in Palm Springs. So Joe deals with the issues around homelessness all the time, every day, and faces those in a different way than, for example, some of the lunch programs of Well in the Desert or even the shelters in Indio, because it is the only family shelter. So I asked Joe to talk about some of the problems, the issues around homelessness in Palm Springs, particularly in the summertime, to make us as a commission better aware of some of the issues, and also to let our viewers at home be better informed about what some of the additional problems are in the summertime, as well as to talk with us about Nightingale Manor. I know before participating in the Homeless Task Force myself, I was not aware of Nightingale Manor. Fortunately, have not needed to look for services of a Nightingale Manor. But I think it's important for all of us to be aware of what's here, what resources are here for people who need them, and for all of us perhaps to be a little bit more aware, a bit more compassionate towards people who are clearly less fortunate than we are, who share this wonderful community with us. So, without further ado, Joe, please.
Thank you, Ms. Illness, and is this? There we go, green light, okay.
We want everybody to hear you.
Thank you, Sylvia, for extending the invitation. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to meet you folks for the first time. I think I've met one or two of you before when gathering together at one time or another. I am the manager of Nightingale Manor. Nightingale Manor has been in existence for about 18 years. It is administered by Catholic Charities, and Nightingale Manor, from what I understand, was a dream and a vision by Kathy McMillan, who had the vision to help those folks who obviously have been displaced for one reason or another. And I will talk a little bit later on about my views on the homeless issue, because I think a lot of people are really confused between the homeless issue and also the transient issue, because there's two distinct populations that are being dealt with. At Nightingale Manor, we receive funds from a variety of sources. We receive funds through the FESG, Federal Emergency Shelter Grants, and we receive some money from counties, from the state, from various entities, and these are specific funds for specific services that we provide. And we're also proud to say that Palm Springs in the past has supported us financially, the city of Palm Springs, through CDBG. Our program is a 30-day program, and it's emergency shelter. And it's emergency shelter for families. We are dealing here with a population of parents who have at least one child. We do not take individuals, although we are attempted to, because we get what we call emergency situations, and we get calls at all hours of the night. People who are out in the street have been displaced for one reason or another. I will segue right now and tell you that the homeless problem, the people that we handle are not the folks that you would find who you would call either street people or vagrants, or the ones that I think probably have put the fear into a lot of our citizens here in Palm Springs. We're talking about a mother with 3 or 4 kids, a husband and a wife with 5 or 6 kids. I have one family in there right now, a husband and wife with 6 kids, and 2 of those kids are teenagers. And you can imagine the size of our rooms, and we have 10 units that we can have families in there. The sizes of the rooms are about the size of a normal single room at a Motel 6. We do have a shower and a bath. We have a refrigerator, a microwave, a little stove top. We've got a TV set, no cable. We have some old TV sets that are donated by some very generous citizens here in Palm Springs and throughout the Coachella Valley. And, you know, after 18 years, this particular location, which we're not allowed to give the address, and that is specifically for the security of the tenants who were there at that time. Unfortunately, we might have a wife who came from a battered situation. We don't want a husband who might be intoxicated popping in unexpectedly and putting not only the ex-wife or whatever in harm's way, but also the children. We take a very deep interest in the children, and this is why we're so grateful to have this program, because, as I said, there's a lot of folks who we would call street people or the vagrants who are just moving around, and some of them might live, you know, for the night in Tahquitz Canyon or the park or somewhere like that, or in a parked car, and they're just drifting through and they're going somewhere else. But the folks that we have here in the shelter are people who held jobs at one time or another, and maybe because of a death in the family or an accident in the family, or unfortunately because of a divorce or any myriad of reasons that cause great grief to families. These are the folks that we take in. We have a very extensive intake process where we ask them a lot of questions, find out where they've been staying at, what's been their source of income, and we pretty much are dealing with the folks who are living in the most crisis part of their life. They're in there for 30 days. In those 30 days, we provide them referrals to apartments, and through Section 8 housing, we help them get connected with a variety of services, whether it be DPSS, the welfare office, or the GAIN program, CalWorks, or any of those other services to get them stabilized, getting them their food stamps or whatever. We also have we have some rules and regulations where they have to be registered within 24 hours with EDD. Some of them were not even aware that they might even qualify for unemployment, or that there's that resource from the State Department to provide them jobs and job leads. And so a lot of the folks have been, you know, living kind of a runaway train lives also. Some of them, they just needed to have a time to stop, recognize that they don't have to worry about having a roof over their head. They don't have to worry about eating. Nobody ever starves at Nightingale Manor. And a lot of them, because of the generous population that we have here in the city of Palm Springs and to Coachella Valley, we get a lot of clothes donated, a lot of food donated, and frankly speaking, it's like a lot of miracles happen there, because I'll give you an example. We had a lady came in with 2 babies, 2 twins, about a year old, and had virtually no clothes at all for the kids. Well, just the day before, somebody had donated 3 or 4 bags full of clothing, and there were the little shoes that fit those kids perfectly, the little, tiny tot outfits and all that fit them perfectly. So we like to think that Nightingale Manor is a house of miracles. A lot of great, exciting things are happening there. It's my favorite topic. I could talk about this all night long, so please feel free to ask me any questions. I did submit to Sylvia a data sheet that pretty much tells you what we've done there. I've been there since I actually was born and raised in Indio. I spent my adult career in the greater Los Angeles area. I worked as a parole agent. I worked as a job agent for the State Department of Employment. I worked for both Los Angeles and Riverside Unified School District. I taught at Riverside City College. And I also had a dual career, 22 years as a radio, television talk show host. Have the distinction of being the first Mexican-American in U.S. history to do a talk show in the English language. And I decided to come back to my hometown after about 3 years ago. And I stumbled onto Catholic Charities, and I just liked what they were doing. They were in the trenches. They were in there helping the least, the people at the bottom rung of the economic ladder. And I said, I like what you're doing. So they asked me if I'd be willing to help them with some public relations and fundraising. So I was hired by Catholic Charities out of the corporate office in San Bernardino as their director of placement. And I'm sorry, not placement, the director of public relations and fundraising. And I was there for about 5 months, and then in December of 2000, they ran into some funding problems. They ran into some administrative change problems. And they asked me if I would be willing to live there at the shelter and turn it around. So I've been there for the last 2.5 years, and we've turned it around, and hopefully it's becoming more recognized than it was in the past.
Given that the folks you deal with have fewer options, if you will, fewer opportunities to get away for the summer or to do other things, do you find that your population changes in any seasonal way? Are there more people now than you would typically see in the winter? Or?
From what I understand, it did appear to be a seasonal situation. But while the Coachella Valley is growing by leaps and bounds, I understand the Eastern Inland Empire is 4th fastest growing city in the country, behind Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, or New York and Chicago. While this place is, when I left here, it was like a little sand trap. Coming back, almost 30 years later, I was amazed by the phenomenal growth. But the problem is, with growth comes these kinds of social service problems. And in just the 2.5 years that I've been there at Nightingale Manor, the demands for homeless services by families has increased threefold. It is just growing by leaps and bounds. I almost didn't make it to today's meeting because up until the very last moment, we were just processing 2 new families. And very seldom will we go by 24 hours with a vacancy there. And we find ourselves, by and large, turning away anywhere from 15 to 20 families per week. The problem is very, very severe. It's growing, as I said, by leaps and bounds. And once again, we're not talking about a transient problem. We're talking about families who have been displaced for one reason or another, whether it be employment, illness, loss of job, or whatever. It's just growing by leaps and bounds. So I couldn't really say to you that it's seasonal, because whether it's summertime or wintertime, our place is completely filled up all the time.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How are the cutbacks, the federal government, the local cutbacks, with government services, how is that affecting funding for Nightingale?
Unfortunately, we just received word recently that the county had a cutback almost to the tune of $100,000. And that's going to impact us in a very large way, because right now we're understaffed to begin with. You have myself, shelter manager, and I live on the premises, so I'm there 24 hours a day. We have a program director and an evening supervisor, and just the 3 of us alone, handling 10 families, anywhere from the size of 2 people to 8 people, it's a tough job. It's very, very hard work. It's very gratifying work. Just the other day, I stopped by one of your major markets here, and I see one of our former clients. Their cashiering went over to another 3 or 4 places right here in the Palm Springs area. People who were down and out in their luck, and now all of a sudden they have themselves nice jobs in the retail clerks or cashiers. So it's very rewarding to see that within those 30 days, we might have planted a seed or a resource that helped turn these folks around. We eliminate the fear of where they're going to be at for, say, the next 30 days, and we tell them now you have to start focusing. Maybe you might have been a runaway train. Maybe you had no sense of direction. So we bring them in. As I said, we give them counseling. We give them leads to jobs. We give them leads to apartments, to the resources that they need. And also, one of the things that we're the proudest of is our tutoring program. Palm Springs Unified School District has graciously given us 2 teachers that come out and mentor the students, tutor them from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. One of the things that we have found out is when the kids are stabilized, and you have anywhere from 15 to 20 kids, it's not like a big crowded classroom, and if it gets past a certain amount, we split them up into shifts. But the kids get this hands-on impact from some great teachers. And I'm proud to say Maureen Ferreter from Raymond Cree School is one of them, and she is.
I work there. I work at Raymond Cree.
Okay, well then you know what we're talking about. And we have Sandy, we have Susie Dowdy from the corporate office, and Mr. Craig Borba. All these folks, they just are making a tremendous, tremendous impact. As I was going to say, when the kids experience this, after the first 2 or 3 days, they just kind of are settled in. They have this great sense of security, and it filters up. It filters up to the parents. Mm-hmm. The parents all of a sudden aren't sitting there trying to respond like, I'm over here trying to find a job. I'm trying to find out where we're going to get the next dollar to buy a meal, and the kids are driving me crazy. Mm-hmm. So after just a couple of hours of the first 2 or 3 days, they are just like so mellow and so happy. Some of them come in there saying like, oh my God, a homeless shelter, has it come to this? But we try to establish a very strong familial surrounding and atmosphere there. So after the kids start mellowing out, it filters up to the parents, and all of a sudden the mother says, I've never seen Johnny behave like this. It's just really amazing. What are you guys doing here? So within 30 days, and if it sounds like I'm very excited and tooting our horn about this, to see the transition, to see the metamorphosis of some of these families who go out there and become productive, tax-generating people. And once again, I have to continually make the distinction between the transient problem, street people problem, and families with children who are just asking for that break to be able to turn their lives around. So we're kind of like an oasis in a desert storm that helps hopefully turns these people around.
You are family oriented. What happens with people who are by themselves, just the single people? How is that treated?
We get many calls. We get many calls from individuals, and we say we're very, very sorry. We do not. Our criteria, our funding, our regulations state we cannot take individuals. We refer them out to other agencies like Coachella Valley Rescue Mission or to DPSS, mental health, these other folks. We don't just try and say, I'm sorry, we have no room. We feel it's our responsibility to, even on the phone, to counsel these people and to refer them to an agency that can address their problems. We are getting, unfortunately, a lot of calls from single, unwed mothers who are pregnant. And there was an emergency, and I don't mind saying this, we didn't really break a law, but I know City Councilman Ron Oden called me and says, Joe, I got this young lady, and she's pregnant. She just needs a couple of places to stay. I fortunately happened to have a room open, and I took her in, and we registered her, and nobody from the funding agencies, made any big hoop-to-do about it, but...
What's sort of 2 people at that point, isn't it? Sort of a family.
Well, and
Pre-family.
and I don't want to get into the philosophical Roe versus Wade issue, but as far as I'm concerned, at conception, there is a family there, but technically speaking, we weren't supposed to do it. But in the case of an emergency, I have a higher power to respond to than just the government. And at this particular point in time, I chose to bring him in, and we put her up for a couple of days until we found her other resources. And technically speaking, we said we will be doing a 2 or 3 day evaluation to see if you qualify. So after the 2 or 3 days, we found some resources, and we said, we're sorry, you don't qualify, but we did the job.
Just to
Yes, sir.
follow, where does one donate, since we don't know where the Nightingale Manor is? Where would one bring clothing or money to?
Okay, we get tons and tons of calls, and I'm proud to say I am in charge of the donation aspect of it. We had a gentleman who was retiring. He was a former concrete contractor, and he donated to Nightingale a GMC half-ton pickup. So if anybody has TV sets, washers and dryers, or big items like that, we'll go out there and pick them up. They can call on us. But we have people calling us all the time from referral. They'll usually call the Cathedral City office of Catholic Charities, and that phone number is 202-1222. And whenever they call over there, they call us up and say, Joe, we have some people that want to drop off. I'll tell you what we need the most. We find ourselves always needing the bedding, cookingware, dishes, things that you and I just take for granted. During the holidays, we're very, very excited, if I can add just a little bit more about that. During the Thanksgiving and Christmas especially, we started a new tradition there. But they didn't do these things before, but I just said I think that we should do them. We have a big, huge turkey, feast, and we invite all the families that go back as far as 90 days. So Thanksgiving, we have a team of volunteers, and we cook up 10, 15 turkeys. State Senator Batten donated 30 turkeys this last Thanksgiving for the holidays. And for Christmas, we also have a Christmas List for Kids, which is a program run by Dan Brown, and they go out there and they collect all these brand new toys. They give our kids, write a letter, what they want, and some of those toys can be almost $100, so some of these kids are saying like, whoa. But on Christmas morning, we are proud to say that the Palm Springs Fire Department comes out there in their big fire truck with Santa all dressed up and a whole bunch of the other fire guys, and they come out and they bring over a whole load of toys as well. Inside the campus there, we have this big, huge kind of a ring circle around this big giant tree, and it's stacked up to the brim with toys for the kids. We're so proud of the relationship that we have, not only with Palm Springs Fire Department, Palm Springs Unified, but also with Palm Springs Police Department. I have to give Commander Gary a top of the hat, because his guys and lady officers are out there on a moment's notice if we have any problems. We're very, very proud of the relationship that we have with all the departments with the city of Palm Springs. And we're also very, very proud of the people who recognize that this is a worthwhile effort. Those people who donate, and we take these kinds of donations, like I said, the blankets and the pillows and all that. We also take cash donations. And with the cash donations, we use that to purchase more food to fill the people. I have to also give credit to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They call us up once or twice a week, and we go over and pick up big loads of chicken and corn on the cob and stuff like that. A person donated a big giant freezer at the right time, right when KFC called. I said, well, I don't know where we'll put that. The day before, somebody had called and said, we got this giant freezer. So I call it a house of miracles, and there's just no way to explain it, how these things just happen to fall into place. So obviously, the good Lord thinks we're doing a good job, so he'll open up the doors to make sure that we have enough resources to take care of many much-needed families.
Good. Joe, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm a slow writer. The phone number was 202-1222 to donate?
202-1222. That's
Okay.
the Office of Catholic Charities in Cathedral City. I would give you the number to the shelter, but once again, that is restricted. We try to maintain a high level of security. One of the things that most of the families tell us is that for 30 days, I'm not worried about this or that or this or that. We have a very, very tight security that we provide the families. We want to eliminate as much pressure as we can so they can focus on what are they going to do 30 days from now. And we feel very, very confident that we pull this off.
How do families find out about your services when they
Well,
need
word of mouth is probably the best way. You know, one family tells another one, they say, you know, we heard that this person was there, and excuse me, although we tell them that they're not supposed to give the address or the phone number out. But we're also very pleased with the relationships that we have with DPSS and all the other social service agencies. By virtue of being a member of the Palm Springs Homeless Task Force, we're always networking with all the other agencies, Episcopal Community Services, Desert AIDS Project, and all the other ones. So Martha's Kitchen, Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, and a myriad of other organizations that are aware. They'll call up and say, Joe, do you guys have an opening? I said, not now, but call me tomorrow. And so we're constantly networking with all the other social service agencies. We think we got a great network, a great team of people who care about those folks that fall through the economic cracks.
I know a lot of your funding, Joe, comes from the county as well as other resources. And given that local governments are experiencing some severe cutbacks, does this concern you at Nightingale as to reductions in funding that you may realize or would have realized
Well,
otherwise?
I can't imagine any nonprofit not experiencing funding problems year in and year out. All bureaucracies, all municipalities, you go by the whim and caprice of the political winds at that particular point in time. As I said, we were notified tentatively that we lost $100,000. When I first showed up here 2.5 years ago, we had lost 87. We were able to recoup it again by expressing the need, and it's not a case of us worrying about whether we have jobs or not. The fact is that the services are needed, much more so than ever before. So we tell folks, please let your congressmen, your state senators, and whomever know that that not only do we think we're doing a great job, but that the problem is increasing. So we hope that the good citizens of Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley will impress upon the powers that be that to keep Nightingale open is a good investment for the overall community. And we never know. We just never know. We've been told that we might close as soon as October 1st if we don't receive additional funding. I know that the Catholic Church, the San Bernardino Diocese, pours a lot of their own money from their own coffers that helps to fund part of the salaries and some of the other things that are not grant specific. If it weren't for that, we couldn't do it just on the grants that we're receiving right now. So, as I said, Kathy McMillan had a vision. She built a great program. In the last 3 years, we feel that we have taken it to new heights, and we realize that, especially families with children, it's a growing problem. And if the citizens don't respond, the government doesn't respond, we think that there's going to be a problem that's going to come back to haunt them, unfortunately. So, a stitch in time saves 9. So we would hopefully that folks recognize that the taxpayers of Palm Springs and Coachella Valley are getting their dollars worth in investing in Nightingale Manor.
In that light, how do we get word out about it so that contributions, be it dollar donations or physical kinds of things, can get to you? What's the best way that we could support you in that regard?
Well, I don't know how many people watch this program, but I know that I watch it all the time. I have a great sense of community, and I'm proud of all you folks, what you do, and all the other boards and commission and our leadership in Palm Springs. I would say just talk to your neighbors and your contacts and your people and say, hey, maybe you guys weren't aware that there's an outfit out here in Palm Springs that's been doing this kind of work for the longest time. And obviously, to give us a call at 202-1222, and that'll help. And you'll probably, they'll refer you over to me. The Cathedral City office will call my office, and from there, I'll call up and make an appointment to either bring the truck out there and pick up the stuff or whatever the case. And on certain cases, if we're tied up too much, we do give the address out to citizens who obviously are more concerned about helping out as opposed to causing our tenants any problems, and we have them come by and bring whatever donations as well. But I know that TV sets, VCRs, since we don't have cable. If you know anybody at Time Warner that'd be willing to give us free cable. And you know, it's very difficult because you've got people, say, picture 8 people in one room, and the only source of entertainment that they have is probably TV. So we're always looking for old VCRs that we connect and put them together, because some of the channels, you got those other ones that are not digital. You got the cranking the UHF thing, trying to bring in a little channel and all that. And we have some of them that put the rabbit ears, coat hangers. They do everything. But it's, as I said, we try to instill a strong family sense of family there. In the courtyard, we have slides and swings, a little basketball court, and all the kids play there. And we don't let them go out to the front yard or to the side. Matter of fact, and I know that the whole Vista Chino project caused a lot of concern. People were talking about, not in my neighborhood. Our neighbors have no idea what we do. That's how well kept this place is. It's in a residential area, and if you were to go and knock on the door and says, do you know what's happening over there? And they wouldn't be able to tell you. But we do this by design. We work very, very hard at it. So for a lot of the folks who are worried about, you know, somebody's going to come over and eat their duck or whatever, somebody said that, I think, in one of the Planning Commission hearings. That says, my goodness, these are human beings just like you folks. They're people who happen to run into bad luck. And I always tell people, I go speak to many different groups, UPS and McCallum Theater and all that, on behalf of United Way. United Way, by the way, funds Nightingale Manor or Catholic Charities. And when I go speak to them and tell them what we do there, we share with them the exciting things that are happening there. And most of those folks are saying, you know what, we never heard of you folks before. And we're getting the word out much more so than before, and that's because for a while there, we were understaffed and we were dealing with the service as opposed to letting people know out in the public. We didn't have to advertise for clients because they were coming in droves. But right now we're getting the word out because we are concerned not only about donations, the items that I mentioned to you in cash donations, but the fact of letting your elected officials and your friends who might be elected officials, like, you know, consider Nightingale. The fact is that, as I said before, that your tax dollars are being well spent there.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Janis.
Obviously, you have a not-for-profit organization, and if an individual would like to make a donation, do you have a P.O. box to identify you
A P.O. box?
so that it can be written off?
We have a nonprofit ID number, yes, sir.
There you are.
Yes,
You do
we-
have.
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, that's available.
Catholic Charities is a 501c, nonprofit organization. It has the church label, I guess, like Jewish Family Services, but we abide by all the nonprofit rules and regulations. We do not discriminate. We do not hire by race, religion, or whatever. It's open completely. We have people from African American, Jewish, and different. We are a bona fide nonprofit 501c3 corporation.
Thank you. I'm glad I asked that question.
Okay.
I would just like to say, if everyone is as enthused with the organization as you are and Maureen Farida, she had won me over already with this, but I have to say that you put the icing on the cake. She's a fantastic person, and she lives and breathes this organization. She works very hard with it.
She is an angel from heaven, and
She
not
is.
only that, but the kids at Raymond Creek. Last year, on 2 occasions, Maureen spread the word around and says, okay, we're going to do a little canned food collection for Nightingale. We went over, that took us about 5 cars
That's right.
to load them up and bring those groceries over for the people there. So we are eternally grateful. And there's so many other people, too. The Rotary Club every year gives us big baskets of food. The United Methodist has helped us out. Teresa Howe with Desert Charities donated $2,500 the other day. We have people from as far as La Quinta and Indio and Coachella that are calling us up and saying, we want to help because they happen to hear about it. As I said, we don't advertise, but and not to toot our horn, but if you're doing good stuff, people hear about it and they want to be part of the true commitment. We have 2 two excellent people on staff right now. Shauna T., who's been with us here for about 8 or 9 months, and she's now the program director, and she's out there just doing a tremendous job, and she's the one that does the initial intakes, and she's also implemented a variety of programs, and one of them was the girls, excuse me, the Girl Scouts. Girl Scout troop got together, and they went out in the neighborhood and collected all kinds of library books, books to build a little library. So we have one little office that we turned into a library. So after the kids come out of tutoring, they go over and they check the books out, and we also have books that the adults can check out as well. And so we salute the Girl Scout troop and Rebecca Hendrickson, who was the leader of this Girl Scout troop, and we're just extremely grateful for a lot of kids, some of them who are your students at Raymond Cree School, Girl Scouts that went there, and they become involved in the project. So we have a lot of folks. I know that a newly elected Assemblywoman Bonnie Garcia was involved with us for the last 3 years. Her and her family have come out during the Christmas holidays, and they've actually served meals there. Jane Brewer from Palm Springs Unified has been out there with her husband and her kids, handing out mashed potatoes and gravy and everything else. So we're proud of the family that we've got. We've got a lot of great folks, and we just take our hat off, because it's not just about me or Shauna T. or Tracy Copeland, our staff there. It's about the folks out there who are committed to this effort.
Great. Well, Joe, we take our hat off to you. I think you're the miracle worker.
Well,
Yeah.
I really
You deserve a
can't-
lot of credit.
Well, thank you, but I really can't take the credit because, as I said, we try to do as much as we can. We're doing the best we can with the tools we've been given, and we got some great tools out there in the community, and we'll take some more.
Okay, that's great. I'll ask, anybody have any more questions before we wrap up?
One more time, the phone number?
The phone number, 760 area code, is 202-1222.
It's on the screen.
That's great. We have it on the screen. I see it's on the television now.
Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you very much for inviting me.
thank you
and,
very much. We're very impressed.
And my hat's off to you folks for the great work that you're doing
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Thanks, Joe.
And thank you, Sly, for inviting him. Terrific.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay. Now it's back to our business. We have approval of the minutes for May the 8th. Did everybody get the minutes and
Yes.
go through it? So, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I make such a motion that we approve the minutes for May the 8th.
Second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstained for not being present at that meeting.
Okay. And now we'll go to our reports. First up is the chairman's report. I'm going to do the report as chairman and Hate Crimes Task Force in one. We did have our second meeting with the gay and lesbian community on May the 12th at Toucans with Police Chief Gary Gendron, and we had a big crowd. We talked about local policing, and I think it was a big success. Yellow Brick Road, which is a local TV show, covered the entire forum, and the chief and I appeared on Yellow Brick Road. I also went to a follow-up, I believe 2 weeks later, the Stonewall Democrats had something at Toucans, and we discussed, again, hate crimes and what to do and local policing, and Commander Hall was in charge that day, and it was very successful. And that would be my report today. Our next report will be from the Vice Chair, Sly Zelness.
I would second the comments that Bill made about both of the events at Toucans. And I think it just speaks to the more opportunities there are for dialogue, for communication, for understanding each other's perspectives and hearing about what some of the concerns and issues are from the police department standpoint is useful for us. And I keep hearing, both from the chief and from Commander Hall as well, the interest in community involvement, not just from a quote, community policing standpoint, but their interest in having the public participate with them, communicate with them, let them know what their concerns are, what the problems are, not just when an emergency comes up, but on an ongoing basis. And I really get the impression that they're serious about that they really mean it when they say they want to hear from the community overall. So I think that's a very positive thing. A couple of things that I wanted to bring up today. There are a few things in the paper this week in the Press Enterprise, and I don't know how many people see the Press Enterprise, so I brought some copies of things that kind of jumped out at me as interesting things. This first sheet is 2 articles. One is an article about Mexico enacting a law against bias. They had not had laws against illegal discrimination, and I obviously won't read the article to you. You can do that yourself. But I thought it was significant, and they talk about a watershed event in Mexico. To have this kind of change occur there. So I think that's a good sign. The other article, court eases burden of proof in discrimination lawsuits. Apparently over time there has been a change in an individual needing to prove that there are issues other than, for example, bona fide reasons for being let go from a job, lack of performance, behavior, whatever it might be. And even if there are those kinds of issues related to termination, if an individual can demonstrate, which is different from proving, if they can demonstrate that there were other reasons, these illegal reasons around discrimination, that influenced an employer's decision, that holds more weight than it used to. The Ninth Circuit, apparently, our circuit, has maintained the demonstrate as opposed to prove, but apparently the courts now are saying unilaterally that the demonstrate rather than prove is the standard that will be used in discrimination lawsuits. Some interesting stuff. Another piece, just today's paper, was an article about the OAS, which is the Organization of American States, that has excluded the United States from its Human Rights Commission. And I think this is really interesting, particularly in light of some discussion that we had a while ago about the United Nations human rights groups. And this just struck me as obviously being a problem. I mean, that we as an obviously strong moving force in the Organization of American States, which is, all of North America, not just the United States. Obviously, there are lots of other countries included here. But for us, given our size, our power, our scope, to be deliberately excluded from the Human Rights Commission does not say good things about how the United States is viewed around the world, and even, if I could say, locally in the Americas itself. And the second to the last paragraph speaks to the individual who was suggested as a nominee to be considered for membership on the Human Rights Commission. What was his first name? Rafael Martinez. Born in Cuba, Martinez is an Orlando, Florida lawyer, best known for his expertise in medical malpractice and health law. He is a brother of Melquiades Martinez, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and a leading fundraiser for the presidential campaign of George W. Bush among Cuban Americans in Florida. I can't help but to think how this struck me as, I'm not saying that Mr. Martinez is not a good candidate, and later the State Department says he is well qualified. They don't want to speculate on why he wasn't elected. But when I look at this snippet of qualifications, I have to wonder what we're doing in the United States by proposing someone with obviously a high level of skills, an intelligent person, but doesn't appear to have a whole lot of background in human rights issues specifically, that we expected him to be well received in this group. And I think it just, and I'm obviously not proposing that we do anything about this here at the Human Rights Commission, but it just points out, I think, how all of us as American citizens need to be informed about what's going on in the areas that we influence, not just what's happening in this country, but in other areas and the groups that we participate in, the regional as well as international groups, and what we might need to do as individual citizens when it comes election time, or opportunities to speak to our senators and congresspeople about our collective interests or our individual interests. And it's things like this that just kind of smack me in the face that we as a nation need to be doing things differently and doing things better in order to be perceived more positively in the international arena. So just some interesting stuff. Here locally, I wanted to mention that there is a group forming, a new nonprofit, 5013C, I think, called the Desert Alliance for Peace and Justice. It has formed out of the pro-peace movement around the Iraqi war, with a number of like-minded individuals, not only in Palm Springs, but across the Coachella Valley and even outside of the valley, Moreno Valley, Yucca Valley, Hemet, various other communities where people were drawn to Palm Springs and some of the activities around the peace vigils here. There will be more information about that and more information for people to learn about the organization if they're interested in joining. So be aware that that's happening. The paperwork hasn't been thoroughly processed and whatnot. It's a budding group. So I think it's, again, something to kind of be aware of, and I will keep you all as informed as I can as things progress with that organization. My usual monthly comment about the third Sunday of the month is PFLAG Sunday. There will be a PFLAG meeting this Sunday. It is Father's Day, and PFLAG will be celebrating all of the PFLAG fathers at this Sunday's meeting. Rick Smedstadt will be the guest speaker. He's the, I'm not sure of his title now, Executive Director. He's the chief duck, anyway, of Gay Associated Youth. Which is a group of young people who are either gay themselves or are supportive of the gay community in schools and whatnot among their friends and colleagues. And we'll have some of the active members there as well. So I think it'll be kind of an interesting meeting and a fun meeting to get some younger blood to talk about their experiences to some of us old fogies who sometimes forget what it was like to be 15 years old. So that is this Sunday, 2:30 to 4:30 at the Cathedral City Public Library in their community room. You all come out now. And that's all I've got. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Zellness. And I just want to make one comment, that because we spoke about something last week, and this goes back to community policing. And we've had a meeting at Hunters with the chief, 1 at Toucans, and a follow-up at Toucans. And I want people listening to know this is not something just for the gay and lesbian community. The chief is, I'd be willing to go with the chief to meet with any group, anytime, anywhere, if they want to get to meet the chief, learn about community policing, and get more involved with their neighborhoods. And in fact, Lee, you're part of helping people set up neighborhood coalitions. So it just happens that the gay and lesbian community did come to me and say, you know, we want to meet the chief, and what could we do? But we're open to anybody in Palm Springs. Form a little group, call me, get in touch with the Human Rights Commission, and we'll work it out for you. And with that, I'll move on to Commissioner Janis, mediation. My timing was perfect, wasn't it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the Southern California Mediation Association seminar in Marina del Rey on Saturday, May 17th of this year. There were over 70 attorneys in attendance. Recent developments in employment law was presented by Marcus Mancini from Encino, very famous name. Insurance issues in employment mediation was presented by Alan Leach from Los Angeles. There was an open forum on mediation insights led by Stephen Mason of Los Angeles. Now included was Dan Stromer of Pasadena, and who had participated in the O.J. Simpson trial. The entire session lasted 6 hours with occasional breaks. We were provided with a manual of recently enacted laws and trial cases that were explained to the group, but too lengthy to go into in this report. My copy is available for HRC use. It was brought out that many attorneys were working as mediators these days and predicted that in the future all mediations will be done by attorneys and not by volunteers like myself. so I'll have to quickly get my law degree. Now, regarding complaint case number 70, harassment in the workplace, a letter from the city manager instructed the HRC to refer the complaint to the Department of Fair Employment Practice Commission and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The lack of response from the offending company indicates that they are not willing to mediate. Therefore, I will forward the case to the recommended agencies. Regarding complaint case 68, claiming termination as a worker for an aircraft company by an act of racial discrimination, the complaint showed up at the HRC. The complainant, the individual, showed up at HRC asking about the status of his complaint, which I had referred to Commander McCabe due to its complexity. However, I did another review of the individual's case and felt it would be appropriate to reopen it by contacting the offending company and appeal for mediation. A letter was drafted for Commissioner Feingold's signature, which I hereby submit. And we'll follow up with this letter in the same manner that we did in the previous case. That's the end of the mediation report.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Janis, our very busy mediation commissioner. Next up, Commissioner Cataret, Community Relations.
I'd like to endorse what both you and Sly have said with regard to meeting with the excuse me, with the police at both Toucans, and I was in attendance at both of those situations, and I feel very strongly that he is extremely supportive of anything that we would like to do, not only with the gay and lesbian community, but virtually everything that we may do. I met with him just last week with regard to a real concern that I have with regard to funding, with the possibility of losing positions, particularly that of the DARE officer. I've been very, very supportive of that program, and he and Commander Hall and I are now on a committee to do some work with regard to either rewriting a program and not reinventing the wheel, but doing something with regard to how do we provide for the service, and it may come to be a character building thing rather than a particular DARE program. But we are working on that and will continue to meet. I met with Al Edwards, who is the Human Resource Committee person with the Desert Sun, and he is on board on my committee, and we'll meet with him on Tuesday of next week with regard to getting information out, not only with regard to what this particular thing that I just mentioned is, but anything that we can do to promote the ongoing services of the Human Rights Commission for the city. He's very interested and has committed to making whatever needs to be done a priority. And also met with Barry Freet to promote information with regard to fire department policies and programs. And I noticed that our guest tonight mentioned getting information out to giving children, particularly the children in a situation such as his, the kinds of things that they need, both in terms of food, gifts, whatever. And we also are working towards doing some information gathering and promoting whatever the fire department needs to do in order to promote itself and how we may help them.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cataret. And next up usually would be Commissioner Aguano for Education, but he is at the high school graduation tonight, which is most important.
yeah.
So we miss him tonight. And now we're up for commissioner comments. Does anybody have anything to add?
I do. I would just like to say that I also attended the forums at Toucan with the chief and along with Commander Hall. And I guess I'll be wearing two hats because I do sit on the Police Advisory Committee as well. And so I am going to be working with Commander Hall with the incidents at Toucan. And we will be meeting next week, as a matter of fact. So he does have a subcommittee that's already intact with that. And also, as far as the chief goes, he is meeting with other groups in the community. I know he's meeting with the members at Desert Highland, Gateway Estate, and the pastor Johnson, Jerry Johnson. I know he was to meet at his church as well. So the chief has spreaded himself out into the community very well, and I'm very pleased with what he is doing with the gay and lesbian over at Toucan, and I look forward to working with Commander Hall on that task force.
It's great. Thank you, Commissioner Bowens. Commissioner Janice, you wanted to add something?
I was wondering if you're going to report on a hate crime task force.
No, I did it all in one. That was the
Thank
meeting
you.
with the chief.
All right, I do have a comment.
Okay.
Now, during the Human Rights Commissioners, I had a remark about Mizell Senior Center and regarding the updated the commission on the completion of the Mizell Senior Center carpeting. And I was informed by Mr. Dale Cook, Community Development Administrator, to please elaborate that the Mizell Senior Center flooring improvement of year 2000 and 2001 project was funded at $20,000 through the city's Community Development Block Grant program. That's wonderful. And Mizell contributed the $1,222 balance for a total of $21,222. It's a beautiful carpet. Go and see it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Janice. Do we have any other comments?
I have a
Commissioner Yeo.
comment. Well, thanks to Chief Gary Gendron's hard work with the airport, the Lions Club made an application for a grant through the Desert Healthcare Foundation to build an iMobile. So they granted us $25,000 towards an iMobile. So the plan that we have is to have hearing testing, blood pressure testing, and eye testing. We could do like Mizell Senior Citizen Center through the school district at Palm Springs Unified School District. So we plan to do that, but we have to put that thing together. So it is an exciting time. And then I have to congratulate Chief Gary Gendron for being the Lions Club of the Year. The Lion of the Year.
That's Lion, Lion of the Year, yeah. Oh, no, we have a good chief, and he is a good lion, I guess. Okay, we have staff reports. Any comments, Lee? Staff report?
Yes. Wanted to congratulate Commissioner Janice. He has been reappointed to the Human Rights Commission. And we will be having 2 new members joining us. Tim Brown was appointed, and Pam Elliott. I have their bios if you'd like to see them. They will be joining us at our July meeting. That's when the new commissioners come on. Also a reminder that June 20th is our Boards and Commission dinner with the City Council. And I believe we've got most everybody's RSVP on that. So your meal choice has been so noted.
Anybody vegetarian?
Then order the meat.
And also another exciting event for our youth. We will be breaking ground for our skate park. And we're going to be breaking ground at 5 p.m. June 20th, the night of our Boards and Commission dinner, so that it's hopeful that all our Boards and Commission members can join us for the groundbreaking and then go over for the dinner. So I'll pass out these invitations to you.
Very nice.
Is that Friday?
A week from Friday. A note, we will be having our forum on elder abuse this month, but our next business meeting will be July 14th. This is when we switch to our second Monday of the month in the afternoon. We'll be meeting from 3 to 5 p.m.
And that's what days?
July 14th. So our business meetings starting in July will be the second Monday of the month.
2 o'clock?
3 o'clock?
3 to 5.
Okay.
We'll be meeting in the council chamber, so our forums and business meetings will all be in the council chamber. Reporting out, our budget is $4,235. We still have an expense to be turned in by Commissioner Janice for his attendance, but that,
I'm hoping you're going to leave us a little bit in the budget.
Really? I thought I didn't vote for that.
and we'll carry that balance forward for next fiscal year, which begins July 1st. And that's all I have to report.
do we get extra money for next year or no?
We roll it over. This has been rolled over from the year before.
Yeah, I know, but do we get extra
No,
money?
no,
Okay.
the city's got tight budget. We're trying to, we're not spending too much money, but I am having our pamphlet printed in Spanish next week. So that'll be one expense, and that should be it. So we'll have English and Spanish, and we're all set. Okay, we have items for discussion tonight. Number one is further discussion regarding the Palm Springs Homeless Task Force. Sly, you had brought that up?
Actually, I had asked Lee to put that on the agenda in the event that there was something that might have come out of Joe Ortiz's presentation or questions, comments from the commission, that if we needed to discuss something further, it would be on the agenda, which would authorize us to discuss it. I don't know if there is anything further that anyone wants to discuss with regard to the task force.
Could we put a donation box somewhere here so we could do it, put up donation box like we normally do donation box for shelter for the storm during Christmas time over here. It's just kind of an idea.
I look to Lee from the city perspective, and her face is not very encouraging.
You know, I don't know what the
Staffing,
policy would
yeah.
be on something like that. If they were seeking donations like for toys or food for a specific purpose, that might be something, but just like a box, I don't know. It could open up other charitable organizations
Yeah.
wanting to do something similar. So if there was maybe a specific thing in mind, we could see about that, but just to have something year-round, I'm not sure that would,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought Joe was marvelous. What they're doing is great. And I think a big help is to give their phone number, which is 202-1222. And if anybody watching or any of us want to, donate or do something, which I think everybody should, that's how you get in touch with Catholic Charities, and they'll turn you over to Nightingale Manor.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably the best way to do it, too, is to give them a call, and they can give you a post office box or whatever to send contributions. And it would seem that now more than ever, given the funding cutbacks, that this would be a good time to reach in our pocketbooks and make a contribution. Yeah, and they would provide you with the tax ID and all of those things that make it tax deductible, I expect.
Normally, I belong to a nonprofit organization as well, and when we donate things like that, they always give us a letter
Yeah.
back, and it's on. So that's probably what they would do. They really just don't give you their tax ID number. They will give you a letter in return.
More substantial.
Right.
Right.
So you could ask for a letter, and they would be more than happy, I'm sure, to give it to you.
Okay, great. Next, in July, we have a workshop. We have 2 dates we've picked, and I thought tonight we'd see who's available and what date fits the most people. July 19th or the 26th, those are Saturday mornings, right? Saturday morning, the workshop would be from 9 to noon. It's just a way of the commission getting together and talking about what we want to do next year, sitting down with the new commissioners and explaining things. And boy, a year went fast for Dorothy and I, right? I mean,
I would just like to say that July 19th would be a better day for me because July 26th, no, I guess I will be in state. Okay. Either.
I will be out of town on the 18th and the 19th, but the 26th would work very well for me. So,
I was just pondering.
I saw you push your button and then you're pondering your schedule.
Well, I was thinking maybe even if there was another Saturday, but obviously the 5th is not going to be a good day because of the 4th of July holiday. The 12th then, I don't know if that would be doable. And then, of course, we're out of Saturdays in July. What I was thinking was, would it be possible to do a non-Saturday? And I know that's difficult for those of us who work.
I'm off. School's out.
That's true. That's true. So, I speaking for myself, I could be flexible for a non-Saturday, but I don't know if others can also.
Either day is okay.
Okay, right, either's good for me, too. Are
Yeah,
these the
me
2
too.
dates that we picked? Because the the police training center is available, we can get a room.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I believe Commissioner Guano had a conflict on the 12th. We
One of the
talked about
dates
it
you
at,
couldn't- Okay, that was why.
but we didn't discuss any other day of the week. That's an option.
Well, I
Well-
would suggest that because I think it's the kind of meeting that we really need to have all of us
Right.
there because of electing our new chair and vice
Right.
chair and committee assignments and whatnot. But the first business meeting we would do that, and that would be the July 14th date.
But didn't
Right.
we do it last time at our conference?
What?
Okay. That's what we did last time.
Well,
though,
yeah, we
okay.
did it a couple of times.
Did a couple.
last July.
Well, you know, we are missing Mike McCullough tonight and Joe
Yeah.
Aguano.
Yeah.
Do we want to wait till July 14th meeting to pick the date, one of these two dates? While everybody's here, hopefully? And the new commissioners are here?
Or if we could get our collective availability and just see between the two of them what.
Right.
And then our new people, of course,
Okay.
to get plugged in.
The 26th will be okay with me. Looking at my calendar, I will be in state. I don't leave until the 30th. So I will be available on the 26th.
So July
Mr. Chairman, have you confirmed with the new commissioners if they can make either of these dates?
No, but I think I'll ask them at the dinner next Friday.
Because no matter what we say, if
Right.
they can't make it, that's what's really important. That's why we're having the meeting.
Right. But maybe we should set a date, set a date, and then if we have to
27th.
change it, but at least we'll all know, say the 26th.
On the 26th.
26th is okay?
Why don't we tell them the 26th?
And they should change their schedule, because they're
Yeah.
new.
That's what I had to do last year.
Right,
Yes. I had to change my schedule.
yes.
Yes.
And I'll bring all the sugar goodies or whatever we want for breakfast. Well, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and
Is there anything that could help you with that meeting? No, I
Actually,
will not need to be there, but
Aren't you going to be there, the 26th?
He's not on.
His term is over.
His term is
Oh,
up.
I forgot about that. Oh.
you could bring glasses. You
Can
could make
we-
public comments now.
Who's going to speak? Last time we had Sergeant Rodriguez, Commander Rodriguez was there last time. Denise was there last time. So exactly what are we going to be doing?
Well, Denise was there for sort of transition to just
So-
kind of kick us off, well, to kick us, yeah.
Exactly.
Give us the right spirit.
I
for it.
know, yeah, that was what I meant to say, yeah.
I'm just
But
saying.
I don't know, I mean, the intent for the event in the past has been more for the benefit of the commission to kind of set some goals and direction and
See, I don't think we need a
program things.
speaker.
It was
I think-
actually-
Yeah,
But
I
it
think
was
it's more
useful.
for, and then we can finally talk
Right.
amongst ourselves with the new people and say,
Yeah.
this is what we do.
well, this event actually was started by Dean Kaufman, and I remember that it was because let's have a retreat, and we thought we could plan a big retreat, but we kind of scaled down to be.
Yeah. It's half a
Actually,
retreat.
the meeting that we went to, the first one was kind of went on, and we thought, oh, let's make it simple.
I think
Yeah.
it's where you form your new committees and do all
Right,
that
and we
stuff.
discuss, right.
Is that
Yeah, and we could have a speaker, there's nothing that says we couldn't invite somebody
to
to,
come and speak?
yeah.
To kind of, because it doesn't take that long to form committees.
Right, okay.
I remember last year that we had Commissioner Rodriguez,
Rodriguez,
That's what I
yeah.
said. No,
and he gave a
Commander.
very, Commander, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Commander.
Rodriguez.
Commander Rodriguez, who gave a very excellent talk, and it was appealing to all of the new members.
Maybe we can get Commander Hall, who's
Well,
so involved now.
actually,
Well,
isn't Commander McCabe supposed to be the liaison
That's right.
with the
yeah, he
Human Rights
was. No,
Commission?
we changed it
When did
oh.
that change?
a while ago, only because he couldn't make our meetings, because he has
So
a
who's that
conflict.
person now?
Who's it?
But Commander Hall,
Commander Hall?
So we
Yeah.
need to, I'm going
Yeah.
to be meeting with Commander Hall on Tuesday.
right.
So should we ask Commander
Yeah,
Hall?
if you want to talk to him, or I can call him, I mean, because I've been talking to him since Toucans and as well, so if he wants to come and give us an address on what the police are doing with, say, community policing and you know, human rights and in Palm Springs.
I didn't know he was our person on here. When did,
Look,
I didn't know that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that letter I gave you, I had Commander McCabe on,
That's
change it
okay.
to Commander
No,
Hall.
it's okay.
Okay.
I'd like to make a couple of comments with regard to that retreat. First of all, in terms of sort of the agenda or the purpose of it, I know last year we really did primarily committee assignment sorts of things. And my sense is that we really don't need a retreat to do that kind of thing. We could either do it at a business meeting or just kind of everybody decide what they're most interested in and opt for that. I am in favor of having a retreat, though, having an opportunity for us to get together off-site for a concentrated period of time, off-camera, when we can really talk about what are some of our goals and objectives for the coming year. And that, that kind of a retreat opportunity gives us the opportunity to talk about that rather than our short business meeting where we're, on an agenda of exactly what we're going to proceed with or what is already in the works. So, I would suggest that we kind of think about a bigger picture and, exactly what we want to do, whatever the date ends up being for this retreat. The other thing I wanted to mention, and Lee, I'd like to request that this go into the minutes specifically, particularly because Joe and Mike aren't here, and that is for all of us to be thinking about the chair and vice chair role for next year. Because speaking personally, I know that we've got a long-standing tradition, if you will, of the vice chair moving into the chair role, and I need to say at this point that given my various commitments and obligations and involvements elsewhere, that I will not be looking towards or be responsive to even a nomination for the chair for next year. So by hook or by crook, we're going to change that tradition. So, I just suggest, really be thinking seriously, not just on the morning of the retreat or the morning of the business meeting when we're going to take the vote, to really think about whether or not and to what extent you want to participate in either of those capacities, because we'll have to come out of that first business meeting with the chair and a vice chair. So think about it.
That's June 14th.
The July 14th.
July 14th.
July
we'll-
14th is our
we'll
business
do a-
meeting.
And that's the 3 to 5 meeting. That's the first time we meet from 3 to 5.
We will be nominating a chair and vice chair. So since you don't want to, or you're not seeking that position as chair, would I be in order to ask, would you be willing, if nominated, as the vice chair?
I would do that again,
Okay.
yeah.
I just need to know where I'm at. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Chairman Feingold?
Yes.
A couple of things that have been brought up throughout the year that you may want to consider at your retreat. Commissioner Aguano has talked about the amount of time that he puts in with the forums, and that it has become quite burdensome to have them every month. I have not found anything that says that we have to have them every month. You might want to think of doing them quarterly or something more
I agree.
that is less burdensome
Right.
to someone to have to plan and schedule those. You also might want to review your rules of procedures. I think the last copy I have was revised and adopted in 1996. Some of this may be dated. You may want to update some of it, change some of it, delete, add. We can make sure that everybody has copies. I don't know if you have done that in the past. Staff does not attend your retreat, so I don't know if you have discussed them or not, but going through some of them, it may need some updating. And at that time, you might want to put down your forums or how often you want to meet, things like that.
Lee, will you be there?
It's yet to be decided.
Okay. I have one question also to ask. With the HRC student members, they started out really good this year, but then we kind of went down. Now, I have a question to ask, and I don't know if it's any place in the bylaws. Do they have to be high school students? Or can we have one middle school and one high school student?
As far as I could tell, when we made that change, which was maybe a year ago, to add student members, nothing was ever changed in our rules or procedures and bylaws. So from what I could tell, it doesn't even spell out student members. So that is something that maybe wanted to be updated. If you want student members, what their role would be, what their term would be, how you would choose them.
Right.
You know,
The concept for student members initially was to have one student rep. And I don't know why specifically we decided on high school. Perhaps Joe knew some people in Joe's
Right.
coordinating effort. And we ended up with two in order to have one as a backup, but then both of them were coming pretty regularly. And, you know, as you said, Dorothy making a contribution early on and then got busy with other
Well,
things. But
senior
Well,
year is a tough year to have.
Yeah.
High school student, because they're getting ready to go
Getting
off to
ready.
college or something, we need maybe younger to get them going.
I would just like to see a middle school
That'd be
person
fine.
along with the high school student.
Yeah.
And then they could work hand in hand, because maybe there's something going on at the middle school
we don't know.
level where the high school rep could help her. And we do have an ASB president, and I've kind of talked to the principal at Raymond Cree Middle School to see if we were able to do that, would he be willing to allow one of our students to come and be an HRC student rep? And he said, yes, he would.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's a good
So this is something we have to discuss, though, at our retreat.
So
Yeah,
just
Sure,
so-
we can
put that on the
Yeah.
agendize that as student membership.
Yeah.
calendar. Okay.
You can talk about the
And
parameters.
And that was a good point about the form. The first couple of years that I was on the HIC, we didn't have any form. So it just, they realized now that we should have a form, that we should do something about it. So we did.
Yeah. But see, I think, well, we'll discuss at the retreat. If we have quarterly forums, then when we have our meetings, I think it'd be interesting if we discussed issues that, you know, we decide upon, that we all put our views upon, you know, what we see as important going on in the world or the community or that affects human rights. But let's all save that for the retreat.
Okay.
And now we know why we need a retreat. We have a lot to talk about.
Then I would like to say, Paul, since this is going to be your last meeting with us, I was only on a commissioner 1 year with you, but it's been a pleasure working with you as a commissioner this year. And I just want to say thank you.
Yeah. I want to second that, Paul, and you can keep sending me emails.
Oh, don't forget those. And I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
come and get some glasses, too. I like your glasses. So I don't know whose glasses I'm going to look at each meeting now,
But
since
you-
you're not going to be here to show
You've
off
done
your
a good job.
glasses.
You're out there in the community doing good things. Okay, now we're coming up to our forum on June 26th, elder abuse. Commissioner Janis, do you want to tell us how that stands?
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, Chairman, I have the information now from Margot Hamilton. And she wrote, "Here's confirmed panel members in the order they will present on June 26th. Margot Hamilton, she's a regional manager of CARE, the CARE program. Tony Greer, he's an investigator, Sheriff's Department located in Hemet. Michelle Haddock, a unit supervisor of Adult Protective Services. David Greenberg, senior deputy district attorney, Indio DA's office. Catherine Roney, investigator, Riverside County Credit Union. She's also sent me a bio of each one of these individuals. As you know, I talked to Commissioner Aguano and mentioned to him that I was so pleased at the way he's been handling the forums that I would like to have him use his style instead of getting me up there telling jokes. So he agreed to it. Now what I'm going to do is provide you, Commissioner Feingold, with this information for publication. I have the bios, the biographies of each of these individuals. Can you pass this on to Commissioner Aguano? And that leaves me into a position of being an attendee to witness what goes on.
Okay.
And as far as it goes with Commissioner Yo, I'm sorry to see you be leaving. I did enjoy all of your emails, and they have been coming in rapidly. And at times I think I was getting spam, but then I saw your name on it. But you did have a lot of information that was very helpful, so keep it up, if you will.
I would just like to say again that I will not be in attendance at our next forum due to the fact I will be away as a chaperone with over 100 little children from the age of 5 to 21 in the big city of Bakersfield.
Better you
So,
than me.
Please, feel sorry for me.
Okay, and I just want to announce to the people watching, and just in case, it's June 26th. We're having a forum on elder abuse. It'll be in the council chambers at 6 o'clock, and the public is certainly welcome to come and listen and ask questions, and we're hoping, I know it's going to be a successful forum.
I just wanted to point out, I also made a copy of this Elder Abuse Reports Soaring article that each of the commissioners has. Another Press Enterprise article that was just, I think it was in today's paper, in fact. And it just, I mean, it's startling. And the headline says, inland figures show an increase of about a third in San Bernardino and Riverside counties. So San Bernardino, Riverside counties are being highlighted as, significant increases in elder abuse. And it's really a very good article, a very thorough article, but just kind of astounding and alarming that right here in River City, we have this going
Could you
on.
pass this on to Joe as a lead-in
Yes.
to his introductions?
And I was also going to mention, last night on Channel 3 News, it was Riverside's put up a big
Yes.
poster about elder abuse, and is it the police chief or the sheriff is going to run a program? The sheriff.
Sheriff
the
Doyle, yeah.
Sheriff Doyle is running a program, and it's all about elder abuse. So we picked the right topic. So hopefully we're going to get the information out to the public.
The topic is very topical.
The topic is topical.
Topical topic.
Okay, and Commissioner Carteret, I'm going to use this information, I'm going to get in touch with the Desert Sun and,
Okay.
and the media and everything,
Please.
okay? So
Absolutely.
we won't duplicate
Okay.
our efforts. Okay, great. Any other comment? Anybody else have something?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you and good night.